Nora awoke to a spring fog staring gray and emotionless through the window. She brought the covers back over her head and scrunched down as far as her pillows would let her. She hated days like this, the air so thick with moisture that every breath was like drowning. Last year, Nora woke on a morning much like this one. However, that morning ended with red emergency lights strobing through the mists. Nora knew today could meet the very same end. She peeked out from under her heavy comforter. Yep, still there. That same flat gray she remembered from last year. The very same slate gray that haunted her daily since. The eyes of the little boy staring at her through it all. His eyes matching the gray all around them. His eyes at her window when she looked again. She froze, praying she would awaken from this nightmare she seemed to be in. The boy's prowling eyes roamed her bedroom. Nora moved to the foot of her bed, turning off her blankets. "Stanley?" she asked. The boy's brow furrowed and creased with sudden anger. He brought his fists above his head and then smashed the window in. Nora brought her arms up to guard her face and heard the boy screaming, "It wasn't my time! It wasn't my turn! Can't you understand? It wasn't for me!" Nora uncovered her face. The fog had begun to seep through the newly broken window. The boy nowhere to be seen. Nora knew better. Stanley was still there. Nora jumped out of bed, ran to her bathroom door, got inside and locked it tight. A bout of weeping took full authority over her as she slid down the wall and sat there hugging her knees. She felt a light touch on her head, and then it came again. Her hair was being stroked. She looked up into the gray orbs of Stanley. Nora opened her mouth to scream, but all that came out was a choked squeak. Stanley continued to stroke her hair. "It's okay," he said softly. "I know you're scared, but you have no need to be." Nora couldn't speak. She could hardly breathe, chilled to the core and quivering. Stanley tightened his grip, attempting to comfort her. "All you need to realize, Nora, is that it wasn't my turn. It wasn't for me. You must understand, it was for you." Nora looked up into his face with tear-stung eyes. "It was an accident, Stanley." He embraced her hard this time and held her fast like a padded vice. I know it was an accident, Nora, but you can't trade. Don't you see that? Look what it's done to you and me and our lives." Nora thought she finally could understand. Driving down the curves of White Oak Lane in her small blue hatchback on a slate-gray, foggy spring morning, a boy on a dirt bike with a newspaper satchel slung over his shoulder. Nora sees the boy's reflectors stuck on the back of his jacket an instant before his foot slips his pedal. The boy's foot strikes the ground and swerves him directly in front of her oncoming car. Nora slammed on the brakes, screaming, and jerked her steering wheel to the right. She saw the boy's eyes looking at her in surprising recognition as he blurred by her window. The back bumper caught the boy's back tire, and she went smashing into the forest that lines the road. "Hey, kid, wake up. Come on, you got it." Stanley looked up into the paramedic's face. His ankle hurt like hell. "You took a nasty fall. We have your ankle in a splint. We've got to take a ride to the hospital. You'll be fine, though, kid. You're a tough one." With that, the paramedic smiled at him, and another came over. They lifted him and his stretcher up and loaded him into the back of an ambulance. Stanley saw that there were 3 cop cars and another ambulance. Being loaded into this other one was a stretcher with a blanket over it. The last thing he saw before the 2 doors were shut was red emergency lights strobing through the mists. The end.